of the virtual Intel channel. And I kept saying for some reason virtual, FPC virtual, the old channel name. I apologize. We have evolved to a whole new channel name. I just have to rebrand it and get everything working in terms of that. So if y'all folks are tuning in, hopefully this isn't the first time, but if it's the first time, I think you're in for a treat because this is going to be different in what I've been doing recently. I have some major updates and some amazing stuff that has been happening. I'm on this website slash 3D animation software known as Pixcap, Pixcap. So I highly recommend for y'all folks, if you've never been to this actual website, this tool, I highly recommend for you to actually go and check it out. For those people who are interested, slightly interested in animation, you want to learn how to animate, or you want to pretty much utilize your skills that you already have gathered in animation and be able to take it to other levels and degrees that you choose to do. Now, this website slash 3D animation software suite is amazing. And if you didn't watch my other live streams, I highly recommend for you to go back and check some of those. I have 2 other ones covering this subject. If you don't want to check those out, you can definitely, gather some information from this video, or you can go to their actual YouTube channel and learn from their YouTube channel as well as from the differing things that they have available on their website. So like I said, it would behoove you to check this out and go for it and give it a try because it is mind-blowing what you can do. And it's actually free starting out when you want to do some basic animation stuff. If you want to utilize their AI, they have an AI built into it when it comes to doing animation. So you could do animation more like through an image from a video clip, or you can use like motion capture kind of technology built in through the AI. And what you'll do is you'll supply a video, and that video will pretty much be able to be tracked, and then the data from the AI will be mapped on top of the actual character, the model that you choose to either import over to Pixcap, or they have models that's on Pixcap, and you can also go to a third-party tool that builds in the models for you. So pretty much this is amazing. So it's AI motion capture pretty much. So let me log in. Actually, I'm logged in, by the way. Forgot about that. So I'm logged in and I've been playing around with something that I've been working on. So what happened in my previous live stream session, I did not understand how to do certain things because I just recently joined and got into utilizing Pixcap, and I was trying to figure out how to utilize the tool and doing it live. So now this is about a week into my learning experiences and basically trial and error. And actually I had some of the staff, I believe the CEO or COO, and some other staff was helping me in a live session of my previous live, and I didn't even realize that. But this is really, like I'm saying, this is mind-blowing stuff that's going on, and whatever help that I get and assistance is awesome. That's why I like to do my live stuff, because I'm actually a student of animation. I'm not that professed, and I'm not really that great at it. So I'm learning everything as I go along. And the thing that's awesome about this is that this software here, this 3D animation software, it actually helped me to learn a lot of animation that I did not learn elsewhere in a very short period of time. I was learning within the first 2 or 3 days a lot of stuff about animation. So that's what I think is the best part about this software. Besides the fact that you can use the cloud-based animation software as it's being on the web as opposed to it being a downloadable software on your computer. That is a really awesome facet, and they have many other software out there that can do it off of the web, but this one is a lot different in that it gives you the full suite of animation. When it comes to having like a timeline and having keyframes where you can actually add the keyframes in, and you can pretty much remove them, delete them, you can edit them, you can play around with what is known as a graph editor. This is the graph editor slash timeline, where you can go in and you can manipulate. So that right there is amazing what you can do as a cloud-based communicator slash software. So you go in and you utilize it as you see fit from whatever skills that you either gathered, maybe learned on it, or what you have already owned as a animator. So that's that part. So we got all of this stuff available, and it's amazing. It even has a finger controller in terms of the hands. So you can go to this little hand icon, click it, and you can control the fingers of the 3D avatar, 3D character that you chose to import, or like I said, you can get it from a library. They have a whole laundry list of stuff here. I would say about 10 or so, looks like, or 12. No, looks like 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They have 14. They said they're going to be having more coming soon as well from their website or from one of their blogs. I know I read into a lot of stuff. So I was just basically trying to catch myself up to from when they first started. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff available. And I don't know if you can see it here, but my character model is kind of not that great at the moment. Let me see if I can scale it out so you can see the hand coordination movement. So here we go. All right, so see, you can move the, hold on, let me move it over a little bit. You can move the fingers really good, and it is amazing that you can do that. Each of the fingers, and you can animate the fingers and hands like that. So that's really amazing that you can do all of that. Now, this is not what I was bringing you to this video for. I wanted you to actually see my major updates, because for those who watched the previous live stream, I have a lot. Basically, this character here, this model, is a UE4 mannequin. And this is actually a UE4 mannequin, female, I believe. So I wanted to just test the UE4 mannequins that I could actually get over and import or port over to Pixcap and see if it could handle the differing exchanges, file exchanges, and things like that. Because when you're trying to create a pipeline for animation, I know for a fact that you have to have the right bone structure, you have to have the right rig types, you have to have stuff that's compatible when it comes to being able to import and export from one software to the next software, and for it to actually work out in the finalized version that you want to animate. So my whole purpose of using Pixcap, when I first got to Pixcap, besides learning stuff from it, developing myself as an animator over time, utilizing it, I wanted to actually animate some metahuman characters that I've been trying to animate with other software. And Metahuman deals with the Unreal Engine. So I'll bring you over to Unreal Engine real quick. And I'm not going to really show you the metahuman characters, but I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I was doing with these UE4 mannequins and the pipeline that I was able to successfully pull off. Now, some of the start characters over here, let me actually change the viewport to what is known as Immersive Mode on UE. This is UE4, I think, or UE5. I'm not sure. I think this is Unreal Engine 5. Yeah, because you could tell by the little toolbars up here, the more new advanced looking toolbars. So pretty much all of these are differing animations that I brought in. And let me bring up the floor a little bit. Hold on one second. Hold on one second, because the floor is not the right level. If y'all folks have any questions throughout this session, or you want to interact with me, definitely go for it. I just have to use my smartphone, because that's how I've pretty much been doing my live streams, to communicate with those who actually choose to watch my videos. So I got my smartphone ready. Actually, let me be right back. I'm gonna go and get a power source for my smartphone. All right, so I got the power source. Just want to back it up so that way it doesn't shut down in the process of communicating with people. Okay, so here we go. We're going to try, hold on, I just want to stop this. There we go. So I can raise the floor. There we go. So the floor level is good. All right, so I was trying to simulate what they're gonna do so y'all folks can see what all the models are doing. So let's see, this model right here with the arms all the way back was the first one that I worked on since I actually learned how to get rid of a lot of my failures, because I had failures that I experienced with a different model, and I was using a Unreal Engine 4 FBX file that I got from, I believe, known the Terribilis Mixamo converter. So I talked about that, I believe, in my first ever live stream for this particular software. And you don't have to watch the whole thing to hear about that or get involved or deal with it or utilize it. Terribilis is pretty much like a third party to Mixamo software / Unreal Engine. So the whole purpose of the Mixamo converter was to get an Unreal Engine UE4 Mannequin onto Mixamo to basically get the animations from Mixamo and easily retarget it onto Unreal Engine. So I got this character animated myself. I did the full animation myself. So the one that's highlighted here in yellow highlight, and so it's pretty it's pretty bad, but you'll see. I'll just try to move it over. You'll get to see how it looks. So it just has the character jump and move a little bit forward, and I'll get to move it over so you can see. So I did every single thing regarding the animation. I actually created the animation on Blender. So I'm going to challenge myself in the future to do a much better animation from scratch, doing every single frame by frame move and every little detail of what I can create. As you can see, the feet go through the ground. This is some of the stuff that I had to experience because I don't know how to animate on my own that well. So I'm still novice, like I said, and still just getting started, still a student. Even though it's been about 2 years of trying on Blender, I really haven't got that great yet. All right, so now the next model is this one standing right beside it. The reason why I wanted to have all these models together in the same project and animated and showcasing for y'all folks is so that you can see the difference. So this model is a Mixamo model that doesn't have any changes to it, any adjustments. It's just straight up and a model that I ported from starting from Blender. I created the model from Blender using Mr. Mannequin's tools, and I'll talk about that and show y'all folks over time through this live stream. You don't have to know exactly what that is, but it's an add-on on Blender. So if you never heard of Blender, never used Blender, you're going to see that as well in this video. So or this live stream. So that was that. I also moved this character in. This character is the same. It's just a different animation, slightly different. As you can see, the hand motions and the sway of the hips is a lot different from this one here. Moving my mouse so you can see that. So from this model to this model, they pretty much are very similar, doing the same stuff. Now, one of the things I wanted y'all to know is when you're trying to get any of your models to work, you want to use the same exact rig, identical rig. Don't switch rigs, don't retarget rigs, don't play around and do all of that while you're trying to manipulate between Blender, Pixcap, Mixamo, and Unreal Engine, or else you're gonna really lose a lot of time. And I did a lot of epic failures by doing that by error because I didn't know exactly what I should do. So I was trying to move my model from Pixcap, bring it over to Blender, and then retarget it using some add-ons to try to get it to have the animations retargeted onto another model type, another mannequin, and see if that worked or whatever, and then move that over to Unreal Engine as a final product. And it never worked. None of those things worked. So this works in terms of getting the same exact model same exact mesh, same exact identical rig. Just stick with the same stuff, and you should have a good porting process. Now, another thing, besides these all having the same kind of a motion, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these are pretty much the same. The only difference is the animations are slightly different in terms of the movement. This has the fingers moving and hands in a different sway, maybe typing on a tablet or something like that. And then this one over here is very similar to the first two. So all 4 of those I did not create myself. These are all from Mixamo, directly from Mixamo. Now, there's another model you'll see that I adjusted that's moving. Now, the moving one, besides the one that's falling on the floor, let's see if we can get it to move again. Where is it at? Oh, there it is. Okay, it looks like it's supposed to be falling off the world. This one right here, that one I adjusted first in terms of movement, besides the one that I created on my own. This one is a Mixamo animation. I learned how to double and extend the walking cycle because I've never really been able to take a Mixamo walking cycle or walk cycle and get it to go very, very long. And I know you can do it on a nonlinear editor, the NLA editor. I'm pretty sure you can do that on Blender, but I'm not really good at it, and it just doesn't seem to work that well for me. I keep having issues with the NLA editor, and I may be doing it the wrong way. But as you can see, it's walking all the way out. So I did figure out that part to some degree, but it took me some time, and I had to manipulate the actual center bone, or the root bone, which is the pelvis. So what I did, I went into the root bone on Blender and I just deleted all of the animations. Now, one thing I noticed when I take the animation, let me show you this one. Hold on one second. The one that's falling. That was my final port over to Unreal Engine. Hold on one second. See if I can get in close. This one right here that's falling on the floor. That was my final port from Blender over to Mixamo. Once I got the 2 different Mixamo animations, these are 2-part animations. One that's walking forward and the other one that's falling. That's not one whole animation. So I actually ported it, started from Blender, used the Mr. Mannequin tools, moved it over to Mixamo, got the animation, 2 separate animations, and then I moved each of those separate animations back to Blender. Then on Blender, I used the NLA editor and tried to play with it, and it didn't work out the way I wanted. It kept throwing off the pelvis bone, and it was just swaying, going all over the place, side to side. So that took me a while to figure out how to get it to straighten out and for it to lay down properly so it could fall on the floor. So what I had to do on Blender, I had to again delete all of the animations for the pelvis bone, and instead what I did is I did a rotation from the pelvis bone and made the rotation rotate over the 3D cursor. Or actually, first it rotated over its individual origin, and then, because I had it set at individual origin, I'll show you a lot of that stuff, and then I pretty much adjusted and adapted the rotation. Once the location was around here where the floor is, I had to rotate the bones, the pelvis bone, to a certain degree. But now this one is proving the port process from, once I got it from Blender and I did that adaptation, I actually moved it back to Pixcap just to see if Pixcap could handle the file, and then if I could transfer the file as an import and an export out to Unreal Engine without having to do much editing and much animation iteration changes or whatever. So that worked. Boom. So far every single thing ported and every single thing worked properly onto Unreal Engine. Now my final goal is to get these character movements to move my metahuman character, and I believe that's going to work with not much of a problem. As long as I got the animation over here on Unreal Engine, all I got to do is retarget the bones, and that doesn't take that much. Now, one of the things I noticed is that metahuman characters sometimes don't accept all of the animation file motion the same way. It just does some weird stuff sometimes. So that depends on how you retarget the bones and how you basically lay out the structure for the retargeting, because you have to reposition the bones and stuff like that as well, depending on the model that you choose to use on Unreal Engine. So if y'all folks don't know any of that stuff that I talked about, hopefully you can gather that over the course of time as you build in your pipeline onto Unreal Engine, because Unreal Engine is powerful. All of these software are powerful, but if you don't know the building process of doing one thing to the next thing to the next thing, then you're not going to get any of it to work. So in terms of phasing things in and out and doing the proper porting process. Now, one of the recipes for getting the port process to work, let me stop this. I just wanted to give y'all an overview of everything I had to do. One of the things that got it to work was when I was on Blender, I noticed on Blender some things on Blender. When you first bring in your mannequin model, you're going to notice you have a ton of bones that you don't really need. So let me try to go back in time where I was at that point. So this is like where I first started, kind of. Not 100%, but this is one of the phases of what I was going through to try to figure out what to do. Now, if you notice down here where it says rigging module or modules and it says deform controls, you'll notice that you'll have tons of deform bones that you can either hide or unhide. So you're going to need this portion, this module on Blender. Just keep this in mind. You can probably take a screenshot of every single segment that I tell you that is really important to store, so that in the future you can actually use it and figure out things that you need to get done. So I use this portion here, Deform Controls. How you get to it pretty much is not shown right away. I don't believe it may be hidden like this. So you have to make sure you go to this little man icon that looks like he's running over to the far right. Blender's generally going to start off like this, kind of looking like this, and you won't have any character in here. Your character will be void, will be gone. So let me just show you how it starts. So Blender basically is a 3D animation software as well as 3D modeling software, but it does much more. You can create films, you can do all kinds of different things in it. You can create a vast assortment of things on Blender that is very useful when it comes to 3D modeling and animation. So they also have VFX tools, they have video editing tools and all kinds of stuff built into Blender. It's an amazing software and it's free, by the way. So if you never use Blender, this is how it looks when it first starts. When I bring my model in, the model is actually brought in here on Blender. So I don't have to go outside of Blender, but what you would have to do is get the add-on. So you would go to Edit, go to Preferences, and then you would have to get the Mannequin Tools add-on. So I got, or Mr. Mannequin Tools add-on. So I got this one, Mr. Mannequin Tools. You want to look that up on Google and you should be able to find it. So let's see, let's hit the plus, go on Google and type in Mr. Mannequin Tools, which I got it right away, comes up. And I believe I got it from GitHub. So you can get it from this Jim Croovy Gumroad, or you can get it from GitHub. And then from GitHub, you pretty much will hit this green button that says code, and then go to download zip, and then get the zip folder. I believe I didn't unzip it. I just moved the zip folder once I got it onto a folder on my computer. And from there, you pretty much have to search for the add-on. So you use the search area here in the add-ons area, and you'll type, actually no, you don't search, sorry. You have to install, I forgot about that. I haven't used the add-ons from Blender for a while. So sorry about that. So you go click install, then you go into the folder, and you'll just add the whatever folder it is. This is not the actual Mr. Mannequin folder. This is just a Mannequin folder that I created, a subfolder on my computer. But mine, I believe, would be, let's see, my 3D objects folder, and under, let's see, is it Mixamo? No. Blender add-ons. Okay, here it is, Mr. Mannequin tools. So this is all my zip folders here, and if I click it, it would actually be able to install the add-on. But since I got it already, that's pretty much how you would do it. Once you got the add-on on your computer on Blender, then you have to hit this little check mark in the checkbox, and then boom, that activates the add-on. Once you got the add-on, I wanted to show y'all folks that, because if you're brand new to this software and you don't know how to use it, this is important for you to know. Most definitely, if you're using Unreal Engine, you're trying to use your metahuman characters and get your metahuman characters to have a pipeline for animation that works well. Okay, so let's go. And in conjunction with Blender, I should say, because you can get an animation pipeline to work for your characters, but it may not be Blender that you're using. You might be using some sort of a motion capture software or something like that. So let's go to add, and we're going to go to all the way to the bottom. It has Mr. Mannequin templates. So this is something that automatically will show up after you activate the add-on. When you click it, it will give you the ability to add an armature. So you can add an armature in many different ways. You can also add meshes in different ways. I recommend for you to select where it says armatures, the second icon, deselect it. So basically make it go dark instead of it being the same color of the armatures tab. Make sure it goes dark. The reason being is because if you leave it like that and you click OK, you're going to get the full-fledged armature, which has too many bones. It has too much controls. It has too many things going on. And actually, this is how I created the animation. Let me show you again how I created the animation for the one with the arms going back like that, and the one that jumped in the air and eventually did a little tiny walk cycle that really looks terrible because I created it myself. All right, so just don't try to do any of this porting process with the actual full armature. So let's go back and go edit and undo, and we're going to bring it back in. But this time we're going to uncheck that one, leave everything else the same that you see here, and click OK. And now you're going to have the full armature that you need. This is the UE4 Mannequin armature you need. So this is essential to have if you want to be porting back and forth and finally get it over to Unreal Engine like I have over here through Pixcap. If you want to do any kind of adaptations or editing, animations, things like that, using Pixcap, let's go back to Pixcap, utilizing this tool, Pixcap, then, and definitely for the purpose of creating a pipeline for Unreal Engine, you want to do it that way, how I just started on Blender. Okay, so I believe this is what I just now got. I'm not sure if this is the actual one I did. Yeah, I think that's the one I just got. Okay, so at this point, once you bring them in, you're going to notice you don't have that many bones. You just have this big gigantic one here. This is an IK bone controller, and you want to remove anything that you don't need. So all the IK bone controllers you want to get rid of. A lot of this stuff you want to basically strip down. Now we're going to go to this little icon on the left, or right I should say, on the right of the screen, the man icon, and we're going to scroll down. So yeah, it seems by default that it's open, so you just scroll it all the way down until you see Deform Control. So you use your mouse scroll wheel to scroll down any of the modules on Blender. So these are all the things that are available. So we have tons of default bones that are showcased here. When you go to select hide deform and you uncheck it, you're going to see all the bones. So now when you rotate, you'll see that the mannequin has tons of bones. Now this is not easy to get rid of the bones, but you want to get rid of the bones. How you do that on Blender, you go to where it says object mode and go and change it to edit mode in the upper left corner. And then they're going to highlight themselves in like an orange yellowish looking glow. So now what you want to do is you can select them all from this end, or you can go over to the upper right in the scene collection area, also known as the outliner on Blender, and then you want to hit this little arrow, click the arrow with the left click mouse button, and then you just basically want to open up anything that you can open up just to get to your deform bones. So this is the deform root. If you select that and try to right click and delete, you won't be able to delete it. Actually, it did delete it, but it didn't delete everything. You would think that it would delete all of your deform bones, but it doesn't. So you have to go and hit this little arrow to bring them all out, and slowly but surely you can remove them this way. But this is also tedious as well. So it's up to what you want to choose to do to get rid of these deformed bones, but you want to get rid of all of them because I'm not sure 100% if these cause any issues when it comes excuse me, when it comes to the pipeline. Gotta drink some water. But I've had a lot of issues with having too much stuff going on when I pipeline over to Pixcap. It doesn't give me much of a trouble when I pipeline over to Unreal Engine, but the way you set up your export for the export file portion of Blender, when you go to export here and go to FBX, how you set that export up is what determines whether it's going to pipeline properly over to Immersive Mode starting out. So as you can see, there's tons of bones, there's tons of deformation bones. So you may not want to do it that way. It's up to you. So what I chose to do is I go close to where I can navigate the actual bone or select the bone, and I try to highlight. You can also use let's see, select and go to circle select and just circle select all the bones that you want to circle select. If you want to deselect a bone, you depress the mouse scroll wheel and it deselects. So this would be probably the fastest way to get rid of any of those deformed bones you want to get rid of. So that's that. This one is an IK handle. We want to get rid of that one too. So we just highlight everything that we want to get rid of, and anything we don't want to get rid of, you just deselect it. Now you got to be careful with the hand bones. So these I'm gonna do individually to some degree, because I don't want to select bones in the hands that don't supposed to be deleted, because then that's gonna break the rig, and you don't want to have any breakages in your rig, because that will cause a problem when it comes to you trying to animate. So this is the kind of stuff that you need to know pretty much starting out on Blender when you want to do much more stuff with your character models, and you know, this is some of the basics on Blender. So I'm just selecting all the deformed bones that I can find and trying to get rid of them. If you're not sure of it, see how I had just selected the clavicle by mistake. If you're not sure, you'll see up here where it says UE4 mannequin skeleton in white. See how it shows up here? It says user perspective in white in the upper left area. Whatever you recently selected, that particular bone while you're editing in the edit mode will show up. So let me select this one. I'm using the shift and left click mouse button to select. So you have to depress the shift button and then use your left click mouse button to actually select. So there you go with that. Now I'm just going to delete whatever I have now shown that I highlighted. So you just go anywhere outside of the bones and just hit the delete key on your keyboard. Then this delete option comes up and you can delete all of that. So that's pretty much most of the bones that are gone. They no longer coming back, by the way. So you don't, like I said, you don't need them. They're not going to help you do anything. All right, so we're going to delete the leftovers, whatever I have left. Let's see, it says def underscore hand underscore L. That means deform bone. So there you go with that. If there's a faster way, if y'all folks can find a faster way, let me know. Because that would be something that can improve my process as well. So now I'm just using the circle select because this is the bottom and it's a lot easier for me on the bottom for some reason. And so that's good. Let me delete these. And I have one here. Delete that one. Now, if you make any errors, you can use the Control Z button on your keyboard, and that will allow you to go back at least one step, so that way you can recall one of the bones that you got rid of by mistake. So the only way it's a fatal error is if you do too many steps, because like Blender's undo, I believe, has only like 20 steps or so, maybe 25 to 30. I'm not sure exactly the number, but you can only backstep a certain number. Here was another deform. It's an IK foot. And don't get rid of the root bone. You want to keep the root bone. So that center bone there in the very middle, don't get rid of that one, the tiny one. You definitely want that one. Here goes some more deform bones. Okay, so I believe I got rid of all of the deform bones. And if you want to check for further deform bones, you just keep selecting the hide and unhide to see what pops up. And as you can see, I have 2 more left that's popping up on the left. So that was one of my techniques I figured out. See that? So I'm going to go over to that and this last one and then hit the delete key. Now it looks like all the bones are good. So we got rid of all of the deformed bones, and now this is set up. I believe that's everything. Yep, I don't see anything going wrong. So one of the things you want to do is save this. So you go to your file and then save as. So this is going to be my base construct for anything that I want to do dealing with Unreal Engine and pipelining back and forth between Mixamo, Pixcap, etc. Anywhere back and forth to finally arrive at Unreal Engine. So I use this as my base model and base rig. So I'm going to save it in object mode. Saving in a particular mode, that's up to you on what you want to do with that. But wherever you save it at, it's going to store exactly at that position and time. So it's important to maybe save this particular one as a certain name, so that way you can always get back to it and use it as a base. I'm going to call it base UE4, something like that, and then put it in my folder for it. And I will put it in the UE4 Mannequin folder that I created and save as. So boom, that's that. And this should be able to port back and forth through everything that you choose to do. If you have any errors, you can go back to this and then try to correct whatever you need to correct, or maybe go back multiple steps. And what you want to do is inspect all your bones just to see that you have everything properly connected, interconnected. That way, when you go and port over somewhere, you don't waste time. So it looks like all the bones that's supposed to be here are here. I'll probably do another video to talk about every individual bone, because hey, you want to have everything that you can know to do this type of stuff, because when it comes to animation, every little detail counts, because it will show up in your final animation if you have errors, and you'll lose a lot of time because it takes a lot of time to animate sometimes. Now, the whole purpose of me getting over to Pixcap, besides utilizing Blender, I need Blender to do this, but besides that, the whole purpose is to speed up the animation process. So I can do a lot of the animations, editing and stuff like that on Blender, and it may work well. But like I said, I use this software here to do a lot of my learning, because the animation process on Blender is not that user-friendly to me. It may be more user-friendly to you, depends on how you are, who you are, what you do with animation as an animator or whatever, but I found that Pixcap is really, really user-friendly to me. So let me go out real quick of this project, and I'm gonna go and create a new one. So for some reason, sometimes I have to hit the reset or reload of this page in order to get the projects to show. This is still in beta, by the way, so if you want to try it out, it's a beta test right now, so just go and beta test it. How you do that, you can sign up as a beta tester from their main page. So that is, I believe, on the top. Yeah, right here it says get beta. So you sign up to the beta, and they will, I believe, contact you via email or something to that effect, or give you the access. I believe they give you a password, or I'm not sure 100%, but I believe they gave me a password and then I went in. All of that happened through my email, by the way. So whatever way you get in, go for it and see what you can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. We're going to give it the name base, just to play around, just to see what I can do. And I'm going to export on Blender the base that I created. So we're going to go to export and then go to FBX. So now this is crucial right here. I'm testing just to see what it's going to do when I move it over to Blender, based on whatever settings that I adjust over here on the far right. Because when it comes to exporting on Blender, your settings is everything. Whatever you choose to set up over here on the right or left will make the difference. So I'm going to show y'all folks some of the issues that I had when I first tried it. So when you first tried, you just go to export and use whatever defaults are set up, and you see what happens. So I'm going to export it. Actually, let me go back. I made an error there, I believe, because I did not tell it where to export 100%. So I didn't really know where I was exporting it to, pretty much. So let's see, base UE4. It's in my UE4 Mannequin folder. Okay. I wanted it to be in my UE4 fun folder. So we're going to do it there. Like I said, I didn't do any adjustments. This is just the default of how Blender is set up. So by default, let's see what it does. We're going to import. And you may run into all these problems if you see anything that is kind of suspicious or something's not working. We're going to click open after selecting the base UE4 file that I created. This is a FBX file, by the way. To tell, you just right click, go to properties, and it will tell you here 3dobject.fbx, because sometimes you may have similar names and not know what file to port it in. Like right here, this is a Blender file, so if you try that, it won't work. It's going to cause an error if it tries to port it in. So let's see. And I need some more water. There we go. So look at that. It ported in properly. Everything worked out fine. Interesting. Now, it did not port properly when I first did it because I probably had the settings that wasn't set the way I wanted it. Now, I notice it says IK foot root and IK hand. So when you port it in and you notice some things that you may not want, then you want to go back to Blender and change that. So there's still two bones that are there that I did not notice. So that's the, hold on. Which one did I port? hold on 1 second. I think I did the wrong one. Okay, so that makes sense why it would have other handles, because I think I ported this one. I'm not sure. All right, so let's try it again. We're going to export FBX, and we will override the other one. Okay, so this one wasn't the one that I needed and wasn't the one that it should be showing. So let's go back. If you want to delete anything that you're working on Pixcap, what you want to do is go to the top most portion where it says scene on the upper left, and then you're going to use the left click mouse button, then right click after you select it and highlight it in blue, and then go for delete. You can also go for the very next one below it, does the same thing, but it will leave the last I guess element on the top. This is like the root element that you probably could move around and do different things with, but you don't want that, so you want to delete that too. So I recommend for you to delete it from the top starting out, so that way you don't have to start a brand new project every single time and have tons of projects loaded on to your Pixcap account. I try to limit my projects by deleting a whole bunch of them because all of it is experimental right now. I'm not actually working on a project. I'm just trying to learn stuff and trying to pipeline stuff to make it work. All right, so we're going to go to import again, and we're going to go back to that file. Open. Let's see what it does. Theoretically, it should bring it in the same way. Okay, so that was the actual file. I'm glad that was the right one. Okay, so where are those bones? That's a good question. If you can't find them, you're gonna have to open everything up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open up, and we have a bone here that says IK foot. We're gonna go to pose, or not pose, we're gonna go to edit, and then select the IK foot and the IK hand, and let's see where those are at. It looks like it's down here. I'm not sure if that's that, but yeah, it looks like it's down there. And I'm gonna go and delete those. All right, so they were hidden within the root bone. So they were basically the same identical size of the root bone, but you couldn't see it. That's why that didn't work out the way I wanted it. Now you're gonna see there's more. You have IK foot L, IK foot R, IK hand L, and IK hand R. So all those are hidden bones that you can't really see. So I'm gonna delete all of those as well. Make sure you're in the viewport with your mouse, because if you try to delete over here on the far right, it doesn't work. It used to work in the older version of Blender, I believe, but for some reason it's not working. So you got to go over to the left, hit delete, and then bones will go, and that's it. So I got rid of the rest of the leftover bones, I believe. I don't think anything else is in there that I don't want. So now we're going to save this, and we're going to export and override that other one. So export the same way, deselect, and I think what I did wrong when I was first exporting, I chose to select this that says selected objects, but I didn't select anything in here. So if you do that by hitting selected objects, maybe you don't want the camera and the lamp and you didn't delete it off of the screen. Maybe you have the camera and the lamp still in your scene collection. Then to override whatever else is in your scene in Blender, you can go and hit selected objects and then just choose armature and mesh with the left click mouse button, and that will just send the armature and mesh like that. But if you have those deselected, it won't send it. So if you have it on empty, it's going to just send an empty file. So I'll show you that. So if you have this issue, we're going to go to scene, delete that. You could also just hit the delete button after you select it and highlight it in blue. In terms of on Pixcap, getting rid of the previous session that you was working on, maybe whatever FBX file that you brought in for animation. All right, so we're gonna go base UE4, open, and you're gonna see it's not gonna bring anything in. It says problem with reading file cannot be imported. See that? So that's why I had that problem on Unreal. I'm not Unreal, on Blender through Pixcap. So let's go on Blender, go to export FBX, and this time we'll just select the armature and the mesh. So you got to use the shift key in order to select anything else additional, because if you just select one after the next, it's going to switch to the next one. So you got to depress the shift key and then left click. There you go with that. And we're going to export FBX, minimize this screen, and now we will import it. So open, boom. So this is going to bring it in, and for some reason it did not work. The reason why it did not work is because you have to actually select in the viewport. So that was another problem I had. So I had these problems. I just wanted y'all folks to see. So make sure you select in the viewport to highlight each of those objects. So the rig type that you chose to select, as well as the mesh for the 3D model. Then go to export, and we'll do it one more time, overwrite one more time. Now another thing what you want to do is check in here. If you have an animation built in and for some reason the animation is not moving over to Pixcap when you're trying to port it, just deselect this force start and /N key. This is mainly, I believe, for those type of file animations, FBX file animations that you created on Blender and you're using the NLA editor. I always forget how to say and pronounce the acronym, but NLA editor. So I believe I used that, so I had to deselect this in order for the animation to show on Pixcap. I did that in my previous session on covering this subject through my live stream. So let's go to export FBX, and let's see what it did. So now we're going to import, and let's bring it up, base UE4, and now it should work. So I'm just showing y'all folks different issues that I had in terms of porting and things that you may experience depending on how you have your Blender export set up. All right, so that's that. So we got rid of all the bones and we ported it properly. We don't have the bones that we don't want, pretty much. We didn't get rid of every bone, but we got rid of all the bones we don't want. Now this center bone here, that's a good bone. You want that one. That's a root bone. And then you also have a pelvis bone. So this root bone is actually the tiny bone on Blender, but it turned into a larger bone. You can scale this down if you want on Pixcap, and it may work to your advantage at a certain point, because it did for me when I was trying to rotate the character over and adapt and fix some of the issues that I had after porting it to Pixcap from Blender. So when I ported one of my animations over to Pixcap from Blender, the ground plane actually came in. I created a ground plane on Blender, and I think I could show you. Let's see which one. This one right here. So this animation that I created on Blender, give you a little bird's eye view of how it looked. It's the one that you saw on Unreal Engine 4. Right now it's moving very slow because and it felt it's moving very slow because I have it set to render on Eevee. So if you know anything about Blender, you know that it has different settings for you to be able to render. And I have the render mode set to viewport shading. So it's on its maximum render possibility. So whenever I choose, say I wanted to create a render for it, it would show the highest quality as an Eevee render. So if you don't want that to move slow on Blender, you can go all the way to wireframe and try that, and it's going to move very fast. So that works like that. If you want to bypass a lot of the rendering, also you can move to the next mode, which is the viewport shading for solid. So this is like the second level. It still moves fast. Now another thing that I did is I changed the frames per second for the animation, so it's moving at a very high rate as opposed to what I got as the frames per second from Mixamo. So let's see if I can show y'all that. So over here in the module controls for differing things that you can choose to change, like output properties for renders, render properties, active tool space, you go to the output properties and you can change the frame rate, and it's generally at the upper portion area. You scroll down, you're not going to go that far down, but pretty much you go here where it says frame rate under frame start, end, and step, and you change that. So I changed it from 30 frames per second to 50. So let me show you how it looks at 30 frames per second. So let's go back, start, and it's moving a lot slower. So this is the actual the accurate speed that it moves in Mixamo. So whatever I got on Mixamo, I got it at 30 frames per second. I could have changed it on Mixamo if I wanted to, but I wanted it to have a general base for the animation speed. So there you go with that. So like I said, this I adapted. Started as a walk cycle, then I took the fall animation and I got rid of the pelvis animations, deleted all that, and then adjusted it. I copied and I adapted it onto the walk cycle, and I'll show y'all folks that maybe in another video on how to do all of that editing on Blender. Now if you try to do that type of editing on Pixcap, it may take some time, but you might have to do individual bone one by one, or a mass collection of the same type of bones, like leg bones and then other body parts, one individual after the next. Because if you're on Pixcap and you got animations built in, right now this doesn't have any animations. This is just a base model, so it can't do anything unless I actually use the AI. So say I go to the AI mocap and I try to use some motion. This is me testing one of my videos in the upper right corner. Say I wanted to add this, I would have to go to VidCap or use the image cap, and this is the AI for video or for imaging. So it will go in, you'll set the frame if you was doing like an image capture or whatever. So wherever you have your motion set at, say I wanted to apply this to the character, hit apply, you're gonna have these things called AI credits. So AI credits basically are something that they'll give you for free starting out a certain amount, and then after the first free amount you have to pay for a certain amount after that. So you'd have to learn about all of that stuff through the pricing on Pixcap. So the freemium gives you 30 AI credits per month, and then if you go for professional you get up to 200 AI credits per month, and if you go for studio you get 600 AI credits per month, so on and so forth. And so it's up to you how you choose to use that. So let's go back. Oh, I'm thinking I got to go back to Blender. So say I wanted to apply this pose right here that shows this. I hit apply, and it says it's going to take 1 credit. So when you're doing the image capture type of AI for motion capture, you're basically going to use only 1 frame. So 1 frame is equivalent to 1 credit. So we're going to click OK, and basically it's going to take your model and throw in that frame that it captured. As you can see, it did it. So say I wanted to go from one position to another, I could have started a base animation and then moved it from one point to the next. But right now this is going to be my new base. So let me go, let's see if this is stored. I don't know if this is stored. I don't think they store those. Yeah, the images are not stored, I don't believe, but the videos are stored. So when you're doing a video cap and say you wanted to create a video portion, you have to actually create a time segment using these pink bars. And you only got up to about 10 seconds to utilize. You can't go past 10 seconds in the duration from one time to the next time period. So say I wanted to do this motion here. If I go too far, it's going to take up that time. It's going to say duration cannot be longer than 10 seconds. They have motion smoothing. They have different things in it. So say I wanted it right there. Okay. So let's go back. See what it shows. So basically I raised my arms at that point. All right, so what I want to do, I'm going to try something which I haven't done yet because I haven't really experimented much with that. I wanted to save a lot of my credits for my live streams, my AI credits. So what I'm going to do, when you're in the graph editor, you can use, they said, the S key to start a keyframe. So I put a keyframe right here from the 0 point. And let's move the timeline over. So I'm using my left click mouse button and dragging this blue timeline. And let's move it to like the 5th frame. And let's say I want to move a certain part of the body, like maybe this bone here. You just go in and select the bone. I'm using the alternate key and the left click mouse button and depressing both of them at the same time to rotate. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the rotate tool. And I'm going to try to rotate this down at a certain point in space. And then rotate the other bone down just to make it look like it's standing. So let's rotate around to get a 3D view of it. And I just made an error, so Control Z. I just want to see what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to select this bone, bring it down a little bit further, and we'll rotate this one a little bit like that. So now what we'll do is hit the S key again. What it's going to do is going to create this curve from 0 to the 5th frame. I basically made the leg move down, and you'll see that it's going to swing down. Oh wow. Okay, so that didn't work the way I really wanted. It only moved one bone because the other bone I did not key. So to avoid from this happening, you can use auto key. Auto key will allow you to, every time you move a bone and change the frame, it's going to store the key. So let me do that over again. So right now we have one key set up for the 0. Looks like the key is there. And what we're going to do is move to the 5th frame and just rotate this down. Hold on. Not using the right position. Boom. Something like that. So it might actually rotate too fast. Depends on how many frames you positioned. And you want to probably do 1 by 1 frame. I'm doing 5 frames at a time. So it depends on what you're choosing to do in terms of the motion. May not be successful or not. We'll see. All right, so that was pretty fast. So if you want to change the timing, you can move the whole frame, the whole keyframe, I should say, and it may move slower. So I doubled the distance, and you don't want to swing it down too much, because when you swing this down, when you move the keyframes down, it's going to change the positional orientation of where the leg is supposed to be. I'll talk about that in some other videos from the stuff that I learned about the graph editor. If y'all folks don't know anything about graph editing and animation, definitely check out some of the videos out there that already exist. Just type in graph editor. You're probably gonna learn from Blender videos and things like that. But there we go. So hit the play, and that looks a lot better. Now this might not be real-time animation, so keep that in mind when it comes to you rendering it in the finalized viewport, maybe on Unreal Engine or whatever. It may be faster or slower, because frame by frame does not represent the actual time. It just represents movement through time, but it doesn't represent seconds, pretty much. So this is covering 30 frames per second in terms of animation. So if you look from 0 to 30, that would be like 1 second. So if you keep that in mind, that's crazy. It's moving at 30 frames per second. So every 30 frames is going to cover 1 second. So that's 1 second. When it gets over to 60, that's 2 seconds, and so on and so forth. So 1, 2. If you count 1, 2, that motion will complete in 1, 2. So by the time it hits 60, 1, 2, something like that. I'm saying 1, 2 probably too fast. 1 second, 2, something like that. So just keep in mind that it's not going to be identical to every single second. Each frame doesn't match each second. So I learned that on Blender, and it was like so mind-boggling, and that's why I couldn't figure out how to animate that well, because I didn't understand the timing. So if you don't know the timing based on frames, you're not going to get the right keyframe references, and you're not going to be able to get your animations to display properly. It's just going to be like discombobulated and too fast, or maybe way too slow. So you just have to keep struggling with it to figure it out. Other than that, that's that part. Now for the video capture, let's see, we go back to the video capture area. If you don't see this blue button, just scroll down. Now what I want to do is move it over to where the leg stopped and try to get it to work there. I don't know if that's going to work, or if the video capture will go over the whole entire character model. But right now, it's not going to map that out. It's just going to map out what you put in the between the pink start and end times for your 10 seconds. Maybe it's less than 10 seconds. I don't know. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit the Run AI on video. And it's telling me how much I'm using. I'm going to use 9.75 credits. It's required to run the AI. You will have a 119 credits left. So we're going to hit confirm. Let's see what it does. All right, so what it does, it's going to send us a little red dot in the upper right corner where it has this video icon. And that red dot means that it moved it over to the manager videos section. So you go and click it. You have reference videos. These are not it. You're going to go to mocap where it has the red dot. And right now it's processing it. As you can see, it says processing. These are my previous ones that probably didn't work or did work. I don't want to get rid of it because I can use it in the future. So this is where you're going to store all of your mocap videos from the AI, mapping out whatever video you put in there. Meanwhile, that video is going to be MP4 type. You don't want to put anything else in there. So whatever you create in terms of video, make sure it's an MP4 video file. All right, so we're going to click View File here. We don't want to click the garbage can because that's going to delete it. So you click this blue View File, and then it's going to bring it up. We're going to hit play, and it's going to show pretty much what you wanted to record within that segment of time. What's really important here and crucial is this base UE4 skeleton, or rig, I should say. So whatever you have as the rig that's in your viewport, you can have multiple rigs in the viewport, by the way. So that's why it gives you options to select the down arrow. So if I had 2 rigs or more, they will display here. And I can choose to send the animation, the mocap AI animation over to whatever rig that I wanted to send it to. So we're going to click apply, and now it applied it. So it looks like it overrided everything that I had in there, which I didn't want to do. So if you don't want to do that, we're going to do Control Z, back it out. If you don't want to do that, maybe you want to add an animation layer, which I learned about, but I'm not sure 100%. I never really did that with this, so I'm going to see if I could try it. So let me add a new layer. I can call it mocap 1. I don't know. And let's see what it does. So we will go back to the mocap, go back to the view file, and then go apply. Now, when we go back to the other portion, it should have selected, I don't know. Let me try to move this up. You can move it up. Not 100% sure in terms of making it work, but I do know that everything that I did in my motion of the video is showing. It's pretty dope. So let me just show that, because I don't know what happened to the other animation. Looks like it overrode it. It's an override or something. All right. I do wish that they had a full screen so you can see everything in full screen. One thing you can do, let's go to the inspector. You can shut off or shut on different things. So we're going to shut off the ground plane. We're going to shut on a skybox so it could look a little better. And we're going to deselect this, deselect that, and deselect this. This is the closest I can get to full screen. I don't think there's a full screen option, which I didn't find. It would really be dope. So hopefully the developers could work on that and give us a full screen capability where we can just click a button and then it goes to full screen, just to see what the animation shows in full. So here we go. We got the character moving its arms like that, straight up through a video. So that's pretty dope. But I did want to have the other animation as well that I created myself. So I'm not sure. Look at that. You can select over here to go back to the AI mocap thing, or switch to the inspector, whatever you want to do. Let's bring this back up. So this is the layer for that one. How did that get here? I thought I put it on this layer. Let's experiment. We're going to delete this layer. See what it does. Okay, go back, hit play. Okay, there goes that one. So that one was set on mocap 1, I guess. So let's go. It didn't delete it. Let's go and delete this one. And then call this mocap 2. Okay. So we're going to rename this one leg. Okay. So with mocap 2, we're going to go in and try again to put that mocap in there. You can also download the FBX or BVH, which is pretty cool. I'm going to apply. Now when we switch, it should switch the animation. I don't know why it's not switching. It's interesting. Hit the play. It's only showing that. Interesting. Just highlight the bones. See what it does. The root bone. All right, so one of the things I know is that you should at least see some animation keyframes. Not seeing any keyframes for the root bone at this moment. but that also could mean because I'm not on the layer that I should be. So let me go to the animation layer. When you select the animation layer, it changes to the actual animation keyframes. So I learned that from my last video from the staff at Pixcap, which they jumped into my live stream and communicated to me, which I didn't know at first, and then I found out after I was done the live stream. So yeah, there we go with that. See, so you can see all the keyframes here. You have to zoom in to get closer to the keyframes. But all these keyframes were automatically created by the AI. So that's where the AI is really powerful, and it substitutes for stuff that you may not be able to do in real time yourself. So if you want to use the video, any kind of video that you can create in your home or maybe at your office or at school or outdoors, one of the things that I want to give you a tip of is to try to get rid of all the possible occluded areas. So anything that matches your, say, your outfit, like this dark area here in the back and this dark here, you don't want none of that stuff. So maybe you can use a green screen behind you, or maybe it's a blue screen, any kind of screen that doesn't match what you're wearing. You want to have a contrasting color of different extreme from what you wear, pretty much. And that would work really well if you want to get the best video motion capture from the AI. I learned that from using what is known as Deep Motion. Deep Motion is another software that eventually I'll talk about compare and contrast, but actually I learned that Deep Motion is a partner of Pixcap, which I did not know right away. I learned that through a communication that I got from one of the staff over on Deep Motion. And I'm actually a partner of Deep Motion, so that's the thing that's interesting. If y'all folks want to check that one out, definitely go for it, but it's a lot different from Pixcap. The only similarity is that this AI video capture type of software, where it goes in and it looks at the video and then it creates a motion capture file from it by mapping off of it through the cloud AI. Basically, Deep Motion has that software built in, and I believe Pixcap is utilizing as a partner that same software for their cloud based AI mocap. So that's pretty interesting to know, which most people will not know if they don't watch my video. Obviously, because I don't think Pixcap is going to make that known 100% and talk about it, because they're trying to get their website and their stuff noticed as well on the online world. They don't really need to talk about all their partnerships with everybody that they have in the background, but they may display it somewhere on their website or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure, but that's something really interesting, and that's where I learned a lot of the how to set up the video. Now with this video that I have here, I did not know all that, and I created this video just experimenting when I first started on Deep Motion, but now I know, and I have tried other videos, but I don't have it. I think I deleted some of those other videos because I'm trying to make space on my hard drive, and it gets kind of crowded when it comes to hard drive space, dealing with all this motion capture and video file stuff. So yeah, there you go with that. Another thing, what I recommend is to create a video that's pretty short. You want to create small, short clips. You don't want to create long length videos, because that's going to cause a lot of backup and a lot of data problems, and the actual AI will not detect everything. It's only picking up 10 seconds at a time. So like I said, just put in something that's pretty short, maybe like 30 seconds to a minute per clip. You add it in there, and it should be easy to pretty much detect and go through it and basically figure out what part of the video you want to, what segment of the video you want to actually add as a motion capture. Like this part, I had a little issue with this when I was trying to do the walk cycle. So I'm gonna have to figure out the best thing for the walk cycle. When I tried it, it didn't work out that well. So I'll work on that kind of stuff. But there are some limitations to utilizing Pixcap regarding the motion capture part, and they talk about that in some portion of their FAQ and tutorial information. So let's see. I believe the FAQ can be found once you log on. So you got to go, I believe, let's see, let's get out of here. Hold on. I'm going to go to login. Here where it says tutorials. Then they have tons of information here. They have an FAQ. So you got to be logged in order to get to all of this. And this is where I learned pretty much everything that I know, besides what they helped me with in my live stream. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. There's mirroring, which is pretty dope. You can mirror one bone over to across to another bone, which is like on Blender. So you wanted to mirror a motion. We go to pose, select the bone, then you have to pop out one of the menus here in the upper area of the active tool and workspacing. You go to X mirror, and then say I wanted to rotate it. You can rotate everything at the same time based on that particular bone. So it mirrors across onto the other side of the body. When you have it deselected, you're only going to move one at a time. So if you want to do that kind of mirror thing, which Blender does, they have a mirror option over here on Pixcap. So you can learn everything that's available of how to use it and things like that through the documentation for Pixcap, which is really useful. Makes this thing really user-friendly and something that's very easy to understand. So if you don't know something, you can learn it from all this information. So I'll go back and review so y'all folks can see how to get to it. Once you're on the main screen after logging in, where it says My Projects, go to the left side of the website and then click Tutorials. After clicking Tutorials, it brings you to the Pixcap documents. You also can go into the Pixcap documents manually by going to pixcap.getbook.io. And let's see if it does it without being on Pixcap-docs. So let's see what it does. Yep. So just type in pixcap.getbook.io and you should be able to get to the documents without even having to sign in and log on, I believe. Let me try this on another web browser that's not logged in. Let's see. Going to Firefox, right click, paste and go, and boom. We're not logged in, folks. So you can get to it without being logged in. But why would you want to get into it without being logged in? I don't know. Some people might want to just know something of how Pixcap works or different things like getting started, animation, etc. If you want to do all that stuff, you can do it. Go for it. If this helps you to get into using the software, go for it. Whatever it takes for you to get to the software and utilize it, go for it. Highly recommend for you to do it because it's going to help you with your animation for sure. So animation learning process, building process, and development. And most definitely, if you don't have motion capture software at hand, which is very hard to get because a lot of the motion capture software that's out there is not that user friendly, but also it costs a lot of money. So if you don't know what motion capture means, basically you're putting digital data points on your body, and or it can be without using data points, but mainly motion capture suits that people have, they will have to put data points on their body through the motion capture suit. It has built-in data points and sensors. So the sensors are 3D depth sensors, so they can be detected by the software that's on the computer for the motion capture, or it can be detected by a camera and vice versa, a 3D depth sensing camera. So the camera or the software is detecting the motion, and in conjunction with each other, they all work hand in hand, and then that motion is redistributed onto the computer software, and it displays all the data points with respect to the distances separating and all kinds of different highly technical stuff. But all of that data is transferred to the software. And then the software redisplays that data across the screen on a 3D model. But how it gets onto the 3D model, you have to have these bones. So the rig is really important and key in order for that data to get across. Or it could be what is known as shape keys, which is something that you can learn to do on Blender, create shape keys for your characters, which basically moves your model mesh, your 3D model's mesh to different positions. Maybe it could be a weapon that it controls or something like that. All of that is dealing with 3D animation and stuff that you would have to learn over time. So yeah, that's the stuff that I learned over the years, but I don't apply everything. I don't know 100% like how to create all the shape keys. Good thing to know, like if you're using maybe an iPhone X, you're gonna need an iPhone X if you're trying to use motion capture for your face and try to capture the facial structures. Like if you notice, this model doesn't have a face, and that was pretty smart because Unreal Engine knows that it's not easy to get the face to be moved and mobile. So when they first created this model, at that time they probably didn't have rigs for the face for the characters. I'm not sure, but pretty much it's like a robot character, no mouth, doesn't have to talk, doesn't have to do anything, just move its head. So as you can see, it has just head bones. But if it had a face rig, all of the facial structures would be rigged. For motion capture, it's not that user friendly to use a face rig because not all motion capture software is going to work in conjunction with that particular rig. So one of the things that I learned is that when you're using like shape keys, it may work a lot better because shape keys could help the structure of the contours of the mesh move a lot better. So they have this thing with the iPhone X known as the AR kit and the 52 blend shapes for Apple's AR kit. So making a long story short, it makes the face and the head motion move really, really awesome utilizing different apps. They use the Live Link Face app on Unreal Engine. So I just wanted to mention that if you wanted to get the face motion and all that stuff, you would have to get into using that kind of tooling, hardware / software. So the iPhone X, or you most definitely would have to get the Live Link Face app. So talking about that, let's go over to Unreal Engine. At this moment, I'm just going to jump in real quick and move to another file and test to see if some of this stuff, this motion data, could be piped over to that type of a project that I have that has a face mesh and a model over there known as a Metahuman. So let me I'm gonna try to save this file because I want to be able to get back to it in the future because I'm playing around and experimenting with it and it's kind of fun. So we're gonna save current level as, and we're gonna call this level Mannequin fun, like that. All right, so we're gonna save, boom, and now we'll X out because I got a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to have too many different UE4 projects open while I have all this other stuff running at the same time. My computer generally doesn't crash, so I have a pretty powerful computer and powerful graphics card on the computer, so it really doesn't have that many issues. So that's the good part about some of this stuff. It took me time to get that computer. Paid over $2,000 for it over at what was the computer place? I always forget the place that I went to. Something Center. I totally forgot the name. I'll try to remember the name and I'll bring it back up. So let's go to a project that I've done in the past that I can actually move the bones over to. So let's go to this one, Metahuman 3. This is on Unreal Engine 5, by the way. So I was playing around with it. Got a Metahuman project built in. Metahumans are pretty much 3D avatar / 3D character models that look strikingly like a real human. See, fail to open map file. I'm not worried about this. It's still gonna open, I believe. So I had a little error when I was building this project, and then it caused some issues, but it still should work. So let's see, we go to levels, and we will go to the Joey show. I created this level a while back. Took me some time to figure out all this stuff. A lot of time, I should say. I've been playing around with metahumans for like 6 months. And for a while, I couldn't do any of it because I had no idea what I was doing. Like most things, it takes a lot of time to figure it out from scratch. Even though there was a lot of YouTube videos out there, for me per se, I'm very slow when it comes to learning Unreal Engine or anything related to it. Because I wasn't really an Unreal Engine user. I was more of a Blender student. And in the 3D modeling arena and animation, I was learning everything from Blender for many years. For about 3 to 4 years now. So that's why I started out with Blender, and also in terms of this live stream, I started out on Blender so you could see a lot of the stuff that I was able to do. But besides that, I was trying to create the pipeline as well on starting with Blender, which I'm sure there's other ways you probably can pipeline to Unreal Engine from Pixcap and so on and so forth. But let's see what we can do. So I'm gonna show y'all folks what I was able to pipeline into Pixcap in terms of animation. So let's try that. So I can see if it pipelines over to Blender, to Unreal Engine, and so that it works seamlessly. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get rid of this. I don't really need this. I'm just highlighting the bones just for shits and giggles, pretty much. We're gonna right click, delete, and we're gonna import one of the files that I know works. So I believe it's unarmed 1. And where did I put the other one? No. Let's try fallen 1. Fallen 1 is the one that fell. I'm gonna open. This one came directly from Blender, I believe, after I got all of the different things that I showed y'all folks that I did working. And as you can see, it has the ground plane like I was talking about. So it came from, where's the ground plane at? This one. So it came from this one, this file, or this project on Blender, where you saw him walk and fall. Or she. This is a she. My bad. All right. So let's do that. We're going to play. And as you see, there is the motion is not working right. It's just walking in place. One of the things that I noticed whenever I move some of the motion files that I worked on over on Blender and I try to pipeline it to Pixcap, one of the things that doesn't work well is the movement of the pelvis. So it's just walking in place and it looks like it's sliding to the right a little bit. So I fixed that on another project. Let's go out. We're going to save it as this is so you can see, so I don't have to do all of that work. We're going to go to this one and hit the play. And I fixed it pretty much. So how I did all of that, I just went into the pelvis. So let me go back into the base. I selected the ground plane. I deleted it, by the way. So this time I'm not going to delete it, but I'll delete it before I move it over and try to pipe it over to Blender. Blender. I keep saying Blender. Pipeline it to Unreal Engine. So let me see what I did. So what I did, backtracking, I went to the pelvis bone, which is here. Highlights over here in blue. Let's pull up the graph editor. And I looked at what point it was falling. Let's see. So I don't want to affect the falling part. What I want to affect is the moving part, the moving forward. So let's go back. Actually, let's just check and see what point it falls, just to keep note of it. So this is the 39th frame. It falls right here. So at the 41st frame is where it falls. So I have to play around and manipulate at that point because I don't want it to move past this part, the 41st frame. So we're going to go back to the 0 frame. Using the scroll wheel, I scroll out. I'm going to move this up so I can see what I'm doing. And whenever you're doing animation, building in the animation of this area here, what you want to do is delete anything that's in there for the pelvis if you have pelvis issues. So you highlight and delete whatever's in there because sometimes they have stuff that's left over. So you select the pelvis. You have to select highlight in blue over on the left, and then you try to delete whatever's in there. The reason why I say that is because you're going to have errors, which I'll show you. It's moving a little bit, as you can see, is not that much. So that means there's something actually in there. You see all these red lines on the top, that means there's something in there. If I scroll in and zoom in, as you can see all these are keyframes. So that means there's something there. So if I tried to create, like at this point, let's rotate and try to, let's put a 0. So hit the S key there and then try to move it forward. Oh, hold on. Let's go Control Z. Take off Auto key. Try to move it forward and go all the way over here. Around 41. Hold on. Control Z. Sorry. Now another thing is, it's not on the ground plane. So it's not moving on the ground plane. So what you have to do over here where it says Global Pivot is left click it and go to True. And that's going to change the plane so it moves on the ground plane. So let's move it all the way to the right like that, and then hit the S key. And if you go back, it's not going to change it. See, it would just fall right there and jump. It's going to jump from this point to this point. So I had that issue and I was like, what the hell is it doing? That's because when I moved it from Blender and piped it over, it still had some animation leftovers and things that's not working. So what you do is just highlight it with the left click mouse button and delete. When you see all this go away, that means there's not anything in there. But it does have that fall. So it is falling, which is good. You want to keep that falling part. So we're going to use Shift S for this point on the 0 or Auto key. So what I did, I just Auto keyed and moved it forward 1 notch. And then it put in some keyframes. So it started with 1 keyframe here at the 0 point. So again, what I did, I just took this arrow, the blue arrow, and moved it 1 notch forward or back. It doesn't matter. And it creates a keyframe for the 0 when you're on the Auto key. Then what I'm going to do is scroll to the right. And I'm going to try to move it in between maybe around 38. So in between here from the 0 point to about here. It's going to create that curve that y'all saw before. And now it's going to actually move the character. So hit the play button and boom. See, so it fell at around 39 or so. So I got to move it a little bit more. That's going to look a little glitchy. It's going to have 2 motions in there. So you don't want to have that. So let's use the Control Z and back out and move it to like around 40 maybe. And the 0 isn't there, so I probably went too far back. We're going to do Control Y. Control Y generally will give you back what you removed, but all right, I'm not worried about it. We're going to move it up 1. Boom. There goes that key. And then go up to 40 and move it all the way over here. Bam. So let's do it again. Hit the play. Okay. So 40. So 42. Control Z, Control Z. So let's go to 42. Control Z, sorry about that. All right. Hit the play. And bam. So there you go. So I basically showed you how I did that. So let's go back to the other one. This one was corrected. It had some rotation corrections, and I corrected it for the ground plane, because as you can see, this one falls through the ground plane. I don't know if you see it, but it falls through it. See, it's like good amount down, and also it rotated to the side. This one is rotated with the back upwards, or the back downwards, I should say, and the head and the face upwards, the way a person really falls. And the body will lay down pretty much on the ground plane. So I did a correction with using Pixcap to fix it. In the different animations, I did rotations and different things. I'll probably do another video on a lot of the cleanup and fixing. It's really easy to do it with Pixcap. So what we're gonna do is go export as FBX, and we're gonna call this something very similar to what I did with the import. So the import was fallen 1. I'm gonna call it fallen 3. So I'll just select the previous one and then call it fallen 3. Save it. Then I'm gonna port this over. Hopefully this works out. I think it's gonna port properly because I already tested it. And the whole part about porting onto Unreal Engine, make sure you have the right folder, like something of an animation folder that you created or something that was defaulted already for you, but make sure you got that set up. So we're going to right click and then go to import. We're going to go to fallen 3. I already have it all set up on my UE4 fun folder. We're going to open, and over here, this is really crucial. Don't change the skeleton to set it to a previous skeleton. You want it to be cleared. You want it to say none, because what we're going to do is retarget the skeleton. And that's really important because after doing so many different porting processes, the skeleton may not work that great. And it may not port over the right bones that tie into the previous bones that you have on Unreal Engine. Now, since we're using a UE4 mannequin that has the UE4 Unreal Engine bones and rig type, it shouldn't be that hard to retarget it. So pretty much everything's gonna be detected and retarget properly, especially if you got rid of all of the bones that you did not want to show up once you port it over. So we're gonna go to import all, and every other setting should be good. If you have one of the settings that is off here, which is pretty much the animation one, see it says animation, import animations, you want to make sure that's selected, and exported time. I never really changed this. I just left it as at exported time. So that's one of the things you want to make sure that's checked. I'm going to go to import all, and you come up with this message log. Don't worry about this, but it basically tells you of all these bones that may not have worked properly, and export smoothing groups, things like that. See, it says the following bones are missing from the bind pose. So we hit X, and then on UE5 you have to click this little arrow or the space bar, I believe, when you're in the lower portion. The space bar or control space bar? Yeah, control space bar will bring it up and pop it in and pop it out for your module to control different things in your viewport. So now what we have is this fallen 3 animation, fallen 3 physics asset, and then fallen 3 skeleton on Unreal Engine. So that shows that it piped in. but the real test is to see if the animation works. So we're going to grab the animation file, the one that says fallen3_anim. We're going to bring it in. And if it works, it will actually move in the viewport when you hit the play button. So let's try to rotate it. What's a good sign is that you actually got the character in. I'm going to try to scale it down because it's a little too large. And we will move it back a little bit. Oops. Move it back a little bit because it's going to be moving. Now this is just a test, by the way, folks. So I'm testing to see if the animation is going to work. So we're going to go to the play or simulate button. And we are not getting anything. Oh, looks like the viewport is frozen. There it is. So it's working, but it's doing some weird stuff. It's like zooming from one scale to the next. That's because I scaled it. All right, so that's good. We're gonna hit the stop. We're gonna Control Z to leave it at the scale that it was at. And we're gonna figure out why the scale is not coming in at the appropriate size, because it's really huge compared to my Metahuman model, as you can see. So let's move it back if I can, right there. And now we're gonna hit the play, see what it does. Yeah, it's still doing it. Let's go to Control Z. Okay, let's try it again. Still scaling down in a weird way. That's not exactly what you want. You don't want it to do that. Okay, so this is just a matter of figuring out how I ported it and what I did with the scale and all of that stuff. This is pretty crazy. By the way, like I've never seen an animation do that on Unreal Engine. But yeah, that's not something that's too hard to fix, I don't think. But this is not exactly what I wanted to show y'all, folks. I wanted to see, besides it porting in, if it can control after retargeting the Unreal Engine model. So let's try that, but what we'll do is delete that. So let's see if for some reason how I brought it in changes it. It's still doing it. Okay. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna delete what we have in here. We highlight all of those, delete it, because obviously it is not doing what it's supposed to do. And we will try to bring over another one. But before we do that, we will check and see what's going on over on Pixcap. Let's see. So what is it doing on Pixcap? Why is it doing that? All right, so the end is around, let's go to 50 frames per second as the end. That way it can loop. I want to see what it does. Let's put a loop. Yep. So the error is actually from Pixcap. That's what it is. So that's not a big problem. The error is not anywhere else, but it was done here on Pixcap. So the original size is actually this size. For some reason, the scaling was incorrect. So let's see if we can do it right on this one. I'm not going to worry about the ground plane and adjusting and adapting that part because I don't want to do all that extra work. So we're just going to get rid of, yeah, I see why. I rescaled it because it was hard for me to zoom in. I see what happened. When I was showcasing the hands and all of that stuff, trying to show the hands, I resized the scale. Okay. Let's go back. Good. All right, so this is it. We're gonna export it. And I'll give it the same name so I can override the other one because the other one is pretty much a dead project unless I go in and I fix it. Let's go save. Yes, we're gonna overwrite it. And now we're gonna go back to Unreal Engine. Once you got everything working right, it's gonna move fast. And we will use the control and spacebar. Right click, import. You can also drag and drop it. Fallen 3, open. Make sure all those is done the same way and import all. Boom. So we hit the X. Now we're gonna do it again. Control spacebar and bring this one back in. Now we're moving pretty much. So let's see if this character is actually around the same size, because that will make a difference, the sizing of the model. My metahuman is not on the ground plane, so that would make a difference. And she's somewhat short, so I probably should use the male model, by the way, because this is a female model. But I can scale him down a little, I guess, to adapt him. But it's not really that good in terms of the scales. So I would have to change some of the scaling over here. World settings. Where is his settings at? The details. Hold on one second. Window details. Where is the details at anyway? Oh, okay. I gotta bring it over here. Here we go. So scale. Whoa. What just happened? All right. Well, I noticed that if you try to change the scale that way, it will go crazy. So let me just reset that at 1. Yeah, the scale doesn't work that way that great. So what we're gonna do is try to set it at 0.8. And 0.8. Okay, that didn't work. Let's go 0.9. That looks like around the same height. 0.9. 0.9. I'm just adjusting the scale so that when I retarget it, it's not really too crazy. So let's go to 0.85. That should be around the same exact height. 0.85. Yeah, that's very close. 0.85. Okay, let's test to see if she moves. Yep, she's moving very fast, by the way. So like I said, it's not going to go exactly the way you want, but this is moving at 50 frames per second. Because like I said, I set the animation very fast so I could work through the animation quicker. But when I redo it, when I start over from scratch to finalize a real good animation project, it's not going to move that fast. Looks like she's not even walking. She's like pacing, jogging real fast. All right, so that's working. Everything else is good. So all I got to do now is go in and manipulate the animation file. So one of the things you have to do if you're trying to retarget, you have to set up the bones so that the bones will match the character bones that you have for your model. So first I have to find my character's bones. So I select him. I go into his project world outliner controls over here, and I'm gonna go to edit BP Joey. So that will go in there. I just want to have that set up. Let's see, that's the body. Let's go back out to the viewport. You also want to look into his folders. So we're going to go to content and go to metahumans, go to Joey's folder, and then I'll try to find his bones. This took me some time because sometimes the bones are like positioned in different places. I believe his bones is here. We're going to double click it. And yeah, preview, morph target, preview scene, skeleton tree, assets. Here goes the skeleton tree. So with the skeleton tree for Unreal Engine, you want to go and make sure that the bones is set for skeleton. So we're going to go to this little gear icon, go to show retargeting, and I have all the bones set to skeleton except for the main bone, which is the root. So the root bone is set as animation. So I learned all of this stuff from watching tons of YouTube videos on this subject for Metahuman. So if you know how to do all of that stuff, hopefully you can retarget your character as well. So now we got that. We're going to drag the tab until we get it to drag into the view of the other tabs. That way it's not a separate, more of a separate UE4 project menu or whatever they call it. That way it's tied in to the same project. And you don't have to keep finding the minimized version. So what we're going to do now is find the actual bones for the mannequin. So we're going to click that, go to content, go to animation, and the bones for the mannequin is going to say fallen 3 _ skeleton. We're going to double click that one, and now we will try to find her information, whatever we have for retargeting and skeleton. So we got Retargeting Manager. First we're going to go to skeleton tree. We're going to go look at this. The light in the camera shouldn't be in there. So I moved over the blender light and camera. So you want to delete the blender light and camera if you did for some reason move it over. I shouldn't even have this here. I'm going to remove selected. It might even mess up stuff. I don't even know. Actually, I'm just going to leave that there. I'm not even worried about it. We're going to go to gear icon, go to show retargeting options, and from where it says fallen skeleton, we're going to right click and then go to recursively set translation retargeting skeleton. So we're resetting everything to skeleton. The fallen one is going to be an animation. I'm going to scroll all the way down, and this should map the bones to the same orientation. Now, the reason why I'm using a UE4 mannequin is because the correct orientation is already set up. So in terms of the bone positioning, as you can see, the metahuman, the arms are positioned the same way. Everything is the same. The legs and the arms is the same, so that should work out. One thing I noticed is that it's offset on the rotation. So you probably want to try to figure out how to fix that rotation. But that's probably because the character was walking. I have no idea why that's set up like that. But I don't think that's going to cause a big issue. One of the big issues is this preview mesh. You want to make sure that that is in use. So you click use, and that is shown here. If you don't have a preview mesh in here, it's probably not going to show up when you try to retarget it. So let's go to the Retarget Manager. In the Retarget Manager, what you want to do is select the rig type. So it says setup rig. You go to select rig type, make sure it's humanoid. Select humanoid, and automatically you should see all the bones show up because this is where the UE4 mannequin works well for using as a pipeline. That's why I actually created it using the Mr. Mannequin tools on Blender. So that way it could work well when I pipeline it all the way through Pixcap / using Blender for whatever animation adjustments I chose to do. So now on this side of things, for my character, I believe the retargeting is all good. So I don't have to worry about changing the retargeting setup on my Unreal Engine Metahuman character. So we're going to go back to the viewport, and all we have to do here, we can actually get rid of this here, delete it. We don't need that. As long as you don't delete anything in here, you're good. So we're going to go to the animation file. It's fallen3_anim. We're going to right click. We're going to go to retarget anim assets, and then duplicate anim assets and retarget it. When you do that, you're going to notice the source in here is showing, but it's not a good view, but at least it's there. We're going to click on the Metahuman Target. I believe you don't want the pants. I think you want, yikes. So for some reason, the target is not looking like this. So like I said, if you don't see it in there, you're going to have to go in and find one that works. It's not showing properly. So I think this is the one. And we click use and then go to save. And that should change what you got. So let's try that again. Retarget anim, duplicate, and then select. Nope, it didn't change. So there may be another area for me to use to fix that part. So I'm gonna go in. Let's see, content. Let's type in skeleton. That way we find the metahuman skeleton. So we go into metahuman base skeleton. After typing skeleton, double click it. And that's the one with the pants. So we don't want this one. Let's go back. Do that again. Here we go. So it's this one. So this one's the correct one. I just wanted to make sure I had it right. So let's hit the X on that. Go back to content, animation, fallen anim 3, or fallen 3 anim, I should say, retarget, and this one. So it's this one. And we're going to go to retarget. Let's see what it did. So I think it worked. Not 100% sure. But yeah, it looked like it worked. So now what we have to do is go to the body. Go to BP Joey. Go to the body. Make sure you're not on the root. Go select body. And then you're going to go where it says anim to play. You're going to hit the arrow and scroll down and look for that animation, which it should be somewhere. If it worked, if it retargeted, it will show up somewhere in here. So it doesn't look like it's here. But what was the name of it? Let's go back. Fallen 3 anim. And this one looks like it's in the content folder. So the reason why I didn't go to the right folder is because I didn't send it to a particular folder. So we're going to right click. We'll do it one more time. And let's see, we're going to select where we want to send it. So change, animation, Okay. And we will select that one, retarget. And this time it's going to send it to the animation folder as Fallen 3 anim 1. It's Fallen 3 and underscore anim 1. Okay. So yeah. Metahuman based skeleton. We got humanoid, auto mapped, modify pose. Oh, I forgot about this. Use current pose. All right. So one of the other problems with my pose is probably because I didn't modify the pose for this character. Modify pose. Use current pose. Let's try that. Try it one more time. Retarget. Wow. So I don't know why the source looks so out of whack. Excuse me. Get some water. But I'm gonna have to fix this part for the source because the source should be in view. You should be able to see part of the body, not like the leg up so close like that. It looks like the thigh right here. So I don't know if some error is happening causing it to do that. It has something to do with it looking this way. So maybe it's too close for comfort. Maybe I have to move it back. So let's see. Let's move this back. Oh, that's going the other direction. Maybe in view like that. Save it. Let's try that. Not even sure. I never had that problem. Nope. Still having an issue. Interesting. So what we're gonna do now, we'll try the body again and see if we can pop that out. So where is the retarget at? That's very odd. It's not showing up for Joey. It's probably showing up for another character. Oh, you know what? That's because I did not retarget Joey's I retargeted the Metahuman base model. See, this is the Metahuman base. I didn't retarget Joey's. So maybe we have to do that over. Hold on one second. Let's use the pants because it seems like the pants is the one that was for Joey. I just don't remember. Let's do. Oh, look, now this one works better. And this one's up higher. I don't know how that works, but let's retarget that. All right, fallen in M3 and fallen in M1. All right, let's try that. Let's go again. Okay, it's not showcased there, but it should be over here. Damn, it's not even in here. Let's type in fallen. There it is, fallen in M3. I had to type it in. Okay. All right, that worked. So, yeah, I think it's going to work now. No. Didn't work for some reason. But we got something going here. Why didn't it work? I have no idea. All right, so partly it's partly working. So I got the animation to adjust part of the body to some degree, but it's not showing in the viewport. It's not working in the viewport. So that might be because of how I have all this set up. I'm not sure. All right. Well, we will investigate further and try to dig into, maybe because of the light in the camera. Maybe I got to get rid of that. And maybe because this should be animation. I don't know. Maybe change this to animation because this is the skeleton. And the root. Should the root be animation? I'm not sure. Yeah, the root should be animation. See that? So that should be animation as well. So we're going to save that and go back to retargeting it. Auto map that. All right, I auto map this one because some of the bones may not be identical. Where's the root? That's the root. Pelvis. Everything else looks good. Okay, so let's try this. Modify, use current pose, save, and we will back out the body. So let's back out. Make sure this animation works. This is a different animation. And that one doesn't even work. So what happened? So maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it's something else that caused this not to work. Whatever the case may be, we do know that it pipelined in properly, and maybe I just have to start a whole brand new project because this project is probably corrupted or something. I don't know why it's not working the way it's supposed to. But as you can see, we got a light moving around, rotating. It's animating the light. I don't know what the hell's going on. So maybe I have to start a whole new let's see. Let's go out of here. Hit content. Content's not coming up. What's going on? All right, so let's go to levels. Start a new level. Let's go to the sample level that metahumans start out with. Wow, looks like the sample level is not working. Okay. Well, we got some epic fail stuff going on. Actually, that's not the right one. I think this one is. We're going to go to don't save. Put them in a different level. Hit the play. All right, this one's working. There we go. So that level is broken. Something's wrong with that level. So I'm not going to use that level. See, the animation's working. All right, let's hit the stop. Let's go and change his animation. Let's see. And by the way, folks, if you're tuning in, this is still a video covering that software known as Pixcap. But this is the pipeline that I have tried to adapt into and make work on Unreal Engine. So I'm gonna hit the spacebar, not the spacebar. We're gonna hit the play. Look at that, it's working. Okay, it's working, but we're not getting it to move forward. It's not doing any movement going forward. So we see that the pipeline does work. It's just one little glitch. And why did his head disappear? That's crazy. That's probably the LODs. So we got it working to some degree, but we just don't have them walking straight. So that is partial success, folks. This is partial success. And the head is disappearing when I move it close. So we're going to have all these kinds of issues when you're trying to get things to port. But we most definitely know that at least the bones have moved over and it can actually work. I have to adjust and make things work much better, obviously through my porting process and through whatever else I chose to do. And I have to bring it into a clean project, obviously, because you may have some errors that came from previous projects that can clash with the newer stuff you're trying to bring in. But other than that, yep, that's it. That's it for my live stream. I'm glad that this was a somewhat success. See if I can move it in closer. I'm gonna hit the stop button. Try to change the LODs. Like, I learned a lot in different phases of playing around with Unreal Engine on how to solve a lot of problems. So this one, force LOD to 0. Okay, that's 0. So why is that happening? I don't know. If you have any problems with like things popping in and out, you want to go to the LOD sync when you're in the character model that you're trying to work on for the what they call it, blueprint. So when you're in the blueprint area for that metahuman model, you want to go to the far left and just scroll down and go to LOD sync. And then from there, you can change this. This is usually at -1. You want to change this to 0, where it says LOD, forced LOD, change it to 0. And I also learned that on YouTube. I learned pretty much everything that I know on YouTube. Pretty cool, right? So my whole purpose of doing this is to try to create rap videos, which I've done that. If y'all folks want to check out on my YouTube channel the end result of some of my stuff, you go to let's see, go over here on YouTube, go to my main channel, and some of my recent videos. So you can check some of these videos out. You can see how I do the different lip sync stuff, playing around with motion capture through Unreal Engine and Metahumans. All of my stuff is dedicated to Metahuman, because I'm trying to create Metahuman characters using Unreal Engine. And in order for me to do more with the body motion without having a motion capture suit, that's where Pixcap is coming in, and all the other animation software tools that I've been able to pick up and learn over time. So you never know. You never know what you're going to be able to come up with. You might get better and better and better over time. Like I said, these are the different videos you can check out, but most of the motion stuff is in this video and this video. So the Mixamo one with no motion capture, it says no mocap. I didn't use any video files, AI video files, anything like that. I just used Mixamo. And then this one has a mixture of different things in it. So I just took the best of what I could come up with and puzzled it together to create a rap video. But my end goal is to create animated shorts. So if I get really, really good, I'll be able to create short films. Like this one is just a skit of an animated short, but using Mixamo file. And I was able to orient the character and then get him to display like he's talking and moving like a real person. But in the future, I will be able to, hopefully, using Pixcap, be able to animate everything, as well as using Blender's animation software. So I'm using both of them in conjunction with each other, as you saw in this live stream. And hopefully this helps y'all folks to be able to do some of this stuff as well. If you pretty much started out with animation and you just haven't went far past the motion capture part, because this should be some solutions. I'm gonna bring up some more videos, maybe change the thumbnail to adapt to those type of videos, but they're all going to be using Pixcap in the future. As long as I'm learning how to use this tool, I will cover it and try to help y'all folks to learn as much as you can to apply animations to your Unreal Engine projects or whatever other projects that maybe I'm working on at the time. But mostly I'm going to be using Metahuman because it's, to me, one of the best in terms of projecting and showcasing a realistic looking human. Metahumans are powerful. If y'all folks don't know about any of that stuff, let's type in metahumans to see metahuman Unreal Engine creator. With this one, you get like a whole hour to utilize it. It goes based on a cloud-based communication tool as well. So you go in and you use the different tooling online, and then you're able to come up with what you can. I think mine is tied into my Firefox. So Metahuman Unreal Engine. Yeah, it's tied into Firefox. So whatever browser of choice you choose, you can build out on that. But pretty much this is the end of my live session, where this part showcasing, because this is what I use. I'm using metahumans to try to innovate and evolve as a YouTube creator, because in the future they're going to have this thing known as the metaverse, which they're working on now, where Facebook talked about, and they converted their company to Meta. So Unreal Engine was on top of things with that and moving forward, and they came up with metahumans. So they want to be somewhere within that spectrum of us creating avatars for ourselves, and being able to animate them and all that stuff is going to be important. So that's why I'm learning the animation side as well through multiple tools like Pixcap and Blender or whatever else software, deep motion, using whatever I can use to speed up the process, improve the process, make things work much better for somebody, things like that. I mean, I think the metaverse is going to be no joke. This is one of my characters I got here. I'm going to try to port him in over. I haven't ported him yet over to Blender. Not Blender. You can't even port it to Blender. I mean, you can, but it's not part of the terms in Unreal Engine and within the Unreal Engine creator, or MetaHuman creator, I should say. So here we go with that part. I can go in and explain all of this stuff about MetaHuman, but this video is not about MetaHumans. It's mostly about Pixcap and helping people to pipeline so that they can get motion in their metahumans, and without having a motion capture suit, not having that big budget, you have to use whatever ways that you can come up with. And I think the Pixcap team, the developers, the CEO, his name is CJ, me and him communicate back and forth because they're in beta and they need all the help they can get. So I try to supply whatever stuff that I know about, feedback, etc., to him. Back and forth we communicate, and we're gonna be having some really good discussions soon. Hopefully we can feature it on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, on Virtual Intel. I'm not sure if that's gonna happen in terms of featuring the communication, but I think we're gonna have some talks behind the scenes. It's gonna be really interesting what I can come up with, and I'll be telling y'all folks of the results on all that, whatever I can come up with in terms of being able to offer up information. Some things you can't really talk about, some things you can, you know, dealing with a partnership with people. So we'll see with that what I can do. Other than that, that's all I got. Joe Love and peace to all. Mike Pugh signing off. There's much more than meets the eye with this tool. I didn't show you everything. I just showed you things that I know, that I've learned recently. But you can go in, you can delete a lot of assets. You can go in and change things. You can add things by going into this asset area. If you want to change your characters, adapt to other characters and other bone structures / rig types, you can go in and try those, see if that works for you for your pipelines. You can also create your own avatar. As you can see here, it says create your own 3D avatar. You can import your own avatars like I was doing. If you click create your own avatar, I'm just going to show you this real quick before I leave. This goes through Ready Player Me, and it's owned by believe what's the company name? Wolf 3D, I believe, is the company that created these characters through an online AI as well. You can choose whatever type or don't specify. I'm gonna put don't specify, and we'll see what it does. And you don't have to necessarily take a photo. I'm gonna continue without a photo and it will create it on its own using the AI. If you use your photo, it will go in and try to create a character that looks similar to you. So it will create an avatar that looks like you. So now I can go in and select whatever type of character I want to select. I'm just showcasing this to people who don't have the need to use like a UE4 mannequin like I showed in this video, and maybe they don't want to use what is made available on Pixcap through the library that Pixcap showcases, which is here. Which is I started in my live stream stating that it was around 10 or so. It's 14, which I restated somewhere in the live stream. So 14 characters available right now. So if you don't want to do all of that and you want to just go around and experiment with your own characters, here we go. So we can go through this way and you select whatever you want, and it goes in and it tries to come up with whoever or whatever the character looks like. So say I wanted her, go click next, and there we go. It throws in the differing outfits that you can go in and play around with. Starting out, it starts with an outfit. Luckily, it doesn't start out nude, which would be very inappropriate for most viewers. Obviously, you can go in and change the skin type, the texture, I guess, slash the color contrast. You can go from different spectrums of the color, and so it's up to you what you want to do with that. You can go in and you can work on other things as well. So you got the eyes, you got the nose, you got the mouth. You have a lot of gear. Clothing, you can slide it to the left, play around, change the clothing if you wanted. Pretty cool, right? Hold on one second. Drink a little bit more water. So pretty much I'm done the live stream now, but you click next to finish it, and once the model is done, it should tie into Pixcap. Let's just try this. It says create a Ready Player Me account. I'm gonna continue without excuse me, continue without signing up. You can copy the avatar link if you want. I'm gonna hit the X, hit next, preparing your avatar. And let's see what it does. Pretty interesting. All of this stuff is pretty interesting, but as you can see, it's also time consuming. Doesn't look like I can do anything else. It just keeps going back to that. So if we go to Pixcap and go to assets, we will see, reload. Maybe that will bring it in. No, it didn't work. So this part I have to figure out to complete it, but it doesn't seem like it's going through all the way. It should go all the way through and then at least return me back. If not, you probably have to import it, which I wouldn't think that would work well, but you never know. All right, so we got the link. Let's go into the link and see what the link does. Oh, okay. So it downloads as a GLB file. Interesting. So what we're gonna do is take this to the Pixcap folder that I have, save it, and then go to import. Let's try that. Boom. Okay, so that's how you do it. I just now ported it in, and there goes the character. So let's go to this one, right click, delete, and this is my character here. And then let's scale it up. It's kind of small. Raise it. Yep, that's it. So now from there, you can do whatever work you want to do on here. Now I can move this character over to Unreal Engine, but I'm not going to show that. Probably I'll do that in another video, but it's not going to be the same rig type as the Unreal Engine metahumans. So it may cause some issues, problems, whatever the case may be. I'll show that in another video. I'm out of here. I'll see you in the next live stream and the next videos that I have in the future. Peace. Thanks a lot for watching, and feel free to share this video socially if you feel other people can benefit from it. And I am out. Oh, also feel free to subscribe, etc. Peace.